Hello and welcome to Good Brews, Bad Views, the podcast that asks if good beer makes bad movies any better. I'm your host, Max Nestorwich, and as always, joined by James Thorpe.
Hey.
And Ryan Everhart.
Whoop, whoop.
And today we are getting another versus film between two
Our
iconic...
second.
Oh yes, thank you, Ryan. Our second, two iconic franchises. We are watching the very first Alien versus Predator film.
Mm-hmm. A Paul W.S. Anderson flick.
Oh, yes, indeed. So, yeah, two of the most iconic sci-fi franchises from the 80s and, or I guess, early 90s, and branching over into PC gaming, or maybe PS1. Finally got a film in the early aughts. And, well, kind of like Freddy vs. Jason, was it worth it? We'll see.
Interestingly, it's
Handshake.
called Alien vs. Predator.
Well, that is, quote-unquote, the superior film in my book.
So, I mean, well, for a,
Your book is wrong.
Well, that's a different
for a
problem.
movie for a movie where it features not like probably the most aliens we've ever seen on screen. It seems odd
probably.
to call it Alien vs. Predator. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, and maybe,
I
maybe
mean,
they're saying that.
Predators had not come out yet, so maybe they wanted to be consistent in the singular.
True, but
in
yeah,
that
'cause there's
case-
like what 4 in this movie, 4 or 5 predators in this.
3 or 4, something like
Somewhere
that.
So in the titling of it being both Alien and Predator both being singular, maybe they're just implying races. You know, Alien versus Predator kind of thing. I don't know.
Then it should be called Xenomorphs, right?
I'm just
Okay,
going to turn
enough
him off
being
real quickly.
pedantic.
Hold on a second.
Okie dokie.
I have the unique experience here from compared to you two. Of last night, I watched the 1991 special edition cut of Aliens.
Really?
So, yes.
Director's cut, yeah.
So I am very much in the mindset of this, and the reason I watched that is that the night before I had like sweat-inducing nightmares about xenomorphs. And
Okay.
so I was like,
Okay.
I'm going to
All
watch
right.
this movie so it just gets it out of my head.
Okay, any context to what maybe caused those sweat-induced nightmares?
They're
Did you-
terrifying. That's what causes it.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
I don't know that
I
we
will
were
agree with you there, but I don't randomly have sweat-induced nightmares about H.R. Giger drawn monstrosities.
Mr. H.R. Geiger's creation. So, all right. So I didn't know. I was not expecting to front load this recording with, dream sequences that the hosts have had. But all right. Going to get candid for a moment here. Some of my most truly viscerally horrifying nightmares that I've ever had have been about xenomorphs.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm the exact same way, Ryan.
Some of the nightmares, and this is years ago that I remember having this nightmare. The nightmare is it's me. I'm in a theater, watching some movie that's I think like sci-fi horror-y kind of thing. I don't really know what was playing in this theater.
Are you disappointed by it?
Probably. But I'm sitting in my seat, and the image on screen is such that it's dark and then it's bright and then it's dark and then it's bright. So a lot of very bright dark contrasts, quick transitions, right? So your eyes are having trouble adjusting to the changes in brightness. So I remember hearing this just commotion behind me. This is a dream, right? And just looking up and seeing, oh, there's a heating vent up there, a great big heating grate on the wall. And I was like, oh, it sounds like there's something happening over in this area. It's just the movie, no big deal. And I'd look back at the screen and watch the movie. And then the commotion got louder and just more real. And I remember looking back and the theater was bright and the grate was there, and it was dark and then it was bright again and the grate was swinging on one single screw as though something had broken through the grate. And then suddenly everyone in the theater was being murdered by xenomorphs. And it was so just unbelievably real and horrifying. Like I remember I ran out of my seat screaming to the bathroom, and there were people being just mutilated by these aliens all around me. And it's one of the most real and memorable dreams I've ever had. That dream must be, I don't know, 8-10 years old at this point, and it horrified me.
Was this like a recurring dream or just like a
Just
singular
the once.
occurrence that
Nope,
okay.
just the once.
But
it was awful.
I'll just get them every once in a while, and I figured out the way to make them go away is that I watch the movies.
Huh.
and then they go away.
I mean,
kind of like a face your fear.
It just gets out of my head.
And that being said, I still do periodically have dreams with a xenomorph in it, and they're always scary. But that one in my mind has been super vivid and has obviously stuck with me for a long time.
I've had 3 dreams in my life where I've woken up like startled, like sat up in bed.
I'm so startled.
I've had at least one of those
like that.
before.
2 of them were xenomorph induced.
I believe it.
Wow. All right, I have some follow-up questions to that, but I'll save that until we get into this movie, which we will do so. We are watching this on Amazon. We're about 18 seconds into the movie. The 20th Century Fox logo is just kind of, doing its spotlight thingy.
Right. It says 20th Century Fox, a news corporation company on the screen there.
So, if you are watching along with us, which is what this podcast is designed for, but not necessarily required to...
Press play now.
All right, now. You're going to be a couple seconds off here, but, that'll be okay.
It'll be fine.
This movie doesn't require
think so.
too much thought or recognition.
Right,
I do like these opening credits. It's the blend of the Predator and sort of the Alien typeface.
Right.
Yep.
And a little bit of the Irken typeface if you've watched Invader Zim.
Yes.
And if you haven't, you must.
Did you and I go see this in the theater together, Ryan?
Almost certainly.
I'm pretty sure we did.
I saw this in theater as well. But, yeah.
I think you and I both had the same opinion walking out that it's not great. Not horrible.
Yeah, it was disappointingly mediocre, I think.
That's the silhouette here, very Alien Queen.
Yes.
But obviously not what it is, but I think it's a very good, just like, we're getting in the visual cues that you know.
Yes.
And honestly, when I saw this movie for the first time, that's
Beeping.
not likely a thing that I would have noticed.
Oh, Wayland, yeah, that's a nice little callback. Yeah, 2004.
Wayland Corporation. Yeah, it's all about this. This is where they the big reveal in this movie comes a little later. Or not a reveal, but like a ooh when they show who is playing Peter Wayland.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this movie and its sequel, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, is Alien as a genre or a film series. It's much further in the future, 2200, 2300, something like that.
Right.
Can't remember the exact thing.
Yeah,
but it is very much a film series set in the future, while Predator is a film series set in
the now.
Present.
Yeah,
and I don't know if to have this matchup set in this time period was appropriate. I don't...
honestly, it's narratively speaking, it's probably not as appropriate as it should have been.
Yeah.
But it's cost effective.
Oh, yeah.
It's right? Cost effective, and I think they try. They don't do a great job with it, but I think they try to speak to the Wayland Corporation's like nefariousness by being like, they've known about this for
so long.
200 years. Right. And the idea is that all of these colonies they've been making or salvage trips they've been sponsoring
could be for nefarious reasons.
We're
like we need to find that thing that landed.
We're all trying to find that thing that they knew about. That's giving them too much credit for what they do in this movie.
We'd make a lot of assumptions on this podcast, Mr. Thorpe.
But I don't.
It's a nice little sequence here.
Yeah, it's a cool sequence. Also, this guy is awesome.
It's very Mission Impossible 2 when Tom Cruise is climbing the side of the mountain and he gets up there and there's the sunglasses for his mission briefing.
Yeah. Yep.
But sorry to interrupt.
No.
Sorry, not sorry.
This is also trying to give a call to, I think this is supposed to be calling to Jurassic Park, the opening sequence of Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Now, James, as an anthropologist by degree, did you indulge in such activities as to climbing into unknown?
How many predators have you killed?
Yeah, this is unsafe, and you don't do it this way. Yeah, digging around with your hands is not how you find things, by the way. The irony of archaeology is that the moment that you pull something out of the ground, it loses 90% of its information because the context of where you find something is oftentimes more important than finding something itself.
Yep.
So,
like, just a thing. Pepsi.
Right, because, that's right there, that's where they're getting at it. Like, oh, we couldn't find the burial chamber. Well, if you actually did a meter-by-meter dig on that, you could find and discover when that area was disturbed, and that would give you a big context for it. Because archaeology a lot of times is pushed as this, like, only ancient thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's prehistoric archaeology, there's historical archaeology, and a new version is modern archaeology, actually, which is where people are going in and they are actually excavating trash dumps.
Really?
Because based off of how deep they go, it's almost stratified by decade, and they're finding materials and it's a really weird. There you go.
Oh, Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen is Charles Whalen. I'm sorry, because Peter Whalen comes later. He's in. He's played by. What's his name?
Oh,
he's
not Matt Damon, is it?
No. He's in
Prometheus
movies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can picture his face, but I can't picture the actor's name.
Yeah. But so that's the big reveal there, is that the guy who plays Bishop is actually one of the Whalens.
I recently just watched him in Pumpkinhead.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah. The creature design in Pumpkinhead is probably the highlight of it, as well as the kind of the lore, quote unquote,
right.
is what's going on. But the design of Pumpkinhead harkens back a little bit to the Xenomorph as far as just some of the protuberances and how it's kind of crouched and the elongated head.
Yep.
So, but I remember when I first saw this movie, I wasn't surprised, but I remember that this was a female of color as the lead.
Yeah, I do remember noticing that. It's like, hey, this doesn't happen often.
No.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I developed kind of a temporary crush on this chick. Sanaa Lathan is her name.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she does a fine job in this movie. I mean, going into this movie, you're not going in for the actresses' performances. Although, looking back to the Alien movies, or at least the early Alien movies, and at least the first Predator, the actor and actress portrayals of Ripley, Dutch, those are definitely big takeaways about Billy.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
from Whale Wars, I've learned that this ship called Piper Maru must be registered out of Japan, because Maru is the name that gets put on ships in Japan. I like the satellite sequence because it comes up on the screen with the red alert, heat signature found. Like someone's job is to sit in front of that thing all day and just look to see if anything's happening.
Oh, 3D mapping.
So this is an interesting plot point to take for making an Aliens versus Predator movie, because the comics of Aliens versus Predator were all over the map of where they would have them fight and what they would have them do.
Yeah.
And everything else.
It's strange though that the original Alien vs Predators thing isn't a movie. It's the supplemental material of the two franchises. It was a video game.
Right.
It was a Super Nintendo side scroller.
Yep. And the side scroller was actually set on Earth that had been attacked by aliens, wasn't it?
It's been years,
but you played as Predators.
But still, that's one of the. If it was very much in the future. I remember it being
yes.
a
it was super.
A future cityscape. It wasn't New York in the 1990s like Predator 2 was.
Yeah. Yep.
But this movie comes out 5 years since the most recent Alien movie, or Predator movie.
I don't know what the context is to this compared to what Alien Resurrection would have been the most recent movie.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like that's 99.
Winona Ryder.
Yeah,
and
Winona
Ron
Ryder,
Perlman.
Sigourney, Ron Perlman,
directed by
Joss Whedon.
Yep, who claims that is what his most heavily edited script from a interference by Hollywood execs.
I will see
I
your
would believe
alien resurrection and raise you in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
I think he still claims that it was like that.
Okay, then.
And I think he's actually made that comparison to say that that's how frustrating it was to work on Age of Ultron, is that they messed with.
You must have this.
They messed with his script that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how the subtitles for this movie has the slash through the O when they're pronouncing an obviously non-English place's name, the Botovadia or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the character's name in this movie, but that guy right there, Colin Salmon is the actor's name. He plays the main. He's the leader of the squad in the first Resident Evil movie, also directed by Paul W.S.
Oh,
Anderson.
really?
Yep.
I believe that is also the guy who plays
In Arrow?
in Arrow.
Yep.
Who is awesome.
Mom's husband. Yeah, he's
Eagle?
great.
No.
Oh.
No, he's I can't remember. I can't think of. He's Walter.
Yes, he's Walter. That's right.
Yep.
Yep, that guy right there.
Yep, that's him.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I've never watched too much of Arrow other than Flash crossovers, but I recognize this picture from something Arrow related.
Oh, such a cool voice.
Yep.
He does. It's almost like he's like a proto Idris Elba. So, we talk about more than movies and franchises on this podcast. So today, we are drinking All the Fixins by Batch Brewing Company out of Detroit, Michigan. It is a barley wine mixed with, brewed with cranberry and orange peel. And what do you guys think about this beer so far?
I think it's wonderful. What was the brewery?
Batch
Brewing. All right.
Batch Brewing is located in Corktown. They are a nano brewery, which is denoted by the size of or the amount of alcohol or beer they produce per year.
I was in Corktown yesterday.
Yep. It's kind of like off the beaten path, and it's definitely in an area where you don't expect a brewery kind of to be, but it's definitely one of the things that kind of
cool shot
popped up in the the
pretty...
Aurora Borealis there. Popped up a few years ago and kind of revitalized the area a bit, and it's been rated like one of the of the best 14 bars in Detroit to go to. Like they're the only actual brewery.
I'll have to go.
Yeah. It's odd because Michigan's known for its breweries. Bell's, Founders, Shorts, the list goes on and on. So you kind of expect them to just be everywhere, like in the major cities. For example, Grand Rapids has 22. Detroit has 4. The newest one, Eastern Market Brewing Company, just opening up officially within the last month. And before that, you have Batch, which is now 3 or 4 years old. So
right.
I guess there are more coming in the future, but with breweries, who knows when they will actually open their doors.
Right. 2 comments quickly. First one about the movie. It's actually a little weird to me that this movie didn't somewhere in this opening section have a high action sequence. Like some sort of conflict somewhere that just was like, hey, here's some fucking action.
Yeah,
to just cut away from, to just generate some excitement early on in the movie. Like it's been a very slow burn to this point.
Yeah, I think
so
this is where they're going to...
Later they show the predators hunting the aliens like on Earth.
Right.
I feel like if it maybe had opened with
it's just a small thing at the beginning. Something some high energy scene at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. Like they kind of cut a little bit of that later when they explain why the pyramid's there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
If they would have started with that, but I guess maybe that gives away the ghost. But I like the idea here with the ship there with it powering up. It hints back to the powering up from all the previous Aliens franchises,
right?
Of like the cryo stuff opening up and everything.
Yeah. Or even if the movie had started with that.
Hey,
that guy looks familiar.
He's from Sons of Anarchy.
The second comment I was going to make is this beer is really good. It's very good, and I like it a lot. However, if I was in the mood for a barley wine, this may not be what I would want to drink immediately. If I was like, hey, I want to sit down and have a good barley wine.
I will agree with you there.
Again, it's really
here's
really
the thing
good.
About this. So
but
batch brewed all the Fixins last year, November 2016. That was like their kind of Thanksgiving release. It was supposed to be, beer you get at Thanksgiving and blah 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 blah. So it's been aged for about a year now. So as you age your beer, some flavors are going to diminish, some are going to pop. So
right.
I'm not sure if they're doing this again this year, but no, this is much less malty than what I was expecting. Because I'll openly say that barley wines are not one of my favorite styles. I will try them. I'll try them if I see them on a menu, just because it's like, ooh, let me see what you're doing with this big beer.
Right.
But a lot of them are way too malty, way too sweet. They have the hop backbone because they need that much hops to balance out the malts. But overall, it's not something that like I enjoy drinking this beer. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're making a big beer that's 10%, and
right.
This one's 10.5.
Yeah, so as I explore more beers, for myself, but also for this podcast, barley wines are absolutely one of the styles that it's falling into the beer that I will seek out a barley wine, and I will probably judge the quality of your brewery on how good your barley wine is if you have one.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm very much liking the barley wines as a style.
James, what do you think of this beer?
I really like it. I agree with you. It doesn't hit normal barley wine flavors because I'm like you, Ryan. I enjoy barley wine. Yeah. I really do. I don't particularly like it when they get overly sweet, but I like them when they're very malty. Like that's kind of a flavor I'll seek out with a barley wine.
Okay.
This doesn't hit any of those notes, but part of it is that I love cranberries.
Oh yes, cranberries is.
So this is hitting. This is hitting. Checking 2 boxes for me. So I'm all about this.
Like we were saying earlier, like the orange really, really pops in this. Like I'm like on the label it says brewed with cranberries and orange zest. Period. Sip. Period. I like the shot right here of the flare going over this desolate town.
Yep.
Almost a little bit of like The Thing.
Yeah.
In that shot.
This very much feels like, or this beginning very much feels like a Call of Cthulhu kind of beginning, where it's like, oh, a bunch of researchers or scientists are going to explore this unexplained whatever.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like the original Alien. They're not combat specialists,
right.
They're not soldiers, they're just like, oh, we're freighter people.
This movie, we could talk about it at the end, but I have some opinions about problems this movie has, so I'll just talk that aren't things that only this movie does, but I think this really could have been a very good and interesting movie, and they just don't do a few things right.
Yeah, I mean, as far as crossovers go, this is a crossover that I think could have been a lot more sustainable and genuinely interesting and executed than Freddy versus Jason was.
Oh, yeah.
Or even Freddy versus Jason had an opportunity to be.
I will say I do enjoy this little scene from a lighting perspective. I like the flare going.
Oh, it's awesome.
The flare going through this.
Oh, and it looks so good on this TV.
Yes, the flare going through this abandoned facility or town or whaling station or whatever. Yeah, whaling station based off of those bones there.
Yeah.
Just the way that the light has so much to interact with as far as like the set design.
The Wayland whaling installation.
The Wayland station.
But there's just so many little things that they're like they wanted to make this look like an actual whaling town or whatever. Oh, the light of the flare going through the door frame there,
like it's being scanned like the Predators.
Yep.
Yeah,
this is where they store the stinky butter.
Yeah.
Sorry, deep cut South Park.
Yes.
This beer is really good.
Yep. But going back to Batch, so Batch is a relatively recent brewery as far as Michigan goes. I actually messaged them on Facebook earlier today, being like, "Hey, do you guys sell kegs?" Unfortunately, they don't. But to me, Batch is like Shorts. They do some very, very interesting beers as far as like crazy off the wall styles, but they still very much taste like a beer or feel like a beer. Like I went there for the first time earlier this year on the day of the Kentucky Derby. They had a mint julep beer.
Yeah, you told us about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mint, yeah. It very much had the flavor of a mint julep, but still had the body of a beer. And to me, that is very paramount. If you can do those big flavors, but still have the feeling of drinking a beer, and that's great. That's great. I've been there, several times since then. I've never had a beer I've been disappointed with, and they have amazing food.
Cool. I'll
Yeah.
have to go out there.
Yeah. They have a pasty. Well, they have pasties in the menu, but what they put in their pasties changes every week.
Sounds like a road trip time.
Yeah.
Penguins.
Penguin. Penguin son.
Do penguins bite? Wait, okay. So,
I had such a crush on this chick. Holy crap.
no.
Wow,
This is
bringing
more of a
back some
question
memories.
about biting. Do things need to have teeth to bite you?
No. You just need my mouth.
Your mouth. You get gummed, it's still biting you.
Because being gummed is a subset of biting.
Yeah.
Is it just the movement of the jaws
Yes.
Yeah.
that defines as
You
biting?
have, to
It's
have, you have to have mandibles to bite something, I guess.
Or lady to bulls.
Uh,
Word jokes.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Because I've never heard
taking
of like,
issue with that statement.
I've never heard of a penguin or a bird biting someone. Birds always peck. That's the
birds
thing.
can bite you, though.
They can do both.
I'm not saying they can't, but I've always just heard of like, oh, the bird pecked him to death, or
Yeah.
like I've never heard of a bird biting someone to death.
They can bite.
Have you ever seen the inside of a penguin's mouth?
No, I imagine it's horrifying.
It's
though.
horrifying, yeah.
Like one of those fish with like the multiple rows of teeth.
You ever seen the picture of those fish with the parasite that takes over their tongue?
Oh, yeah. There's a movie I actually own the DVD
horrifying.
and haven't watched it called The Bay, based on that concept.
Yes. Yeah. It's a Korean horror film, isn't it? Yep.
Well, The Bay, I don't know.
You don't
Can't
know?
say for certain.
I don't know if it might be a remake or not. That's a cool shot. That's a really cool
it's
shot.
So this is the first action we're getting to, and we're more than 20 minutes into this movie.
That's a Batman sequence.
The Predator's
Utility
like,
belt
look at my
time.
knives, look at my mask. Yeah, that's very much like a Joel Schumacher Batman
we
gearing
didn't
up
get
kind of
any
thing.
Predator butt, though.
Right. Not
He's
yet.
vaping.
It's in the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
It's medicinal, I swear.
That's a brutal thing to say to somebody.
Dude, this chick is awesome.
I feel like they say that a lot, though. There's no room for sick people on this expedition.
Well, but they're already on the expedition.
Right.
It's never said before the expedition. It's always like, uh-oh, he's sick and he smuggled himself on. Like, we were talking about Prometheus, when they find out that Wayland's actually on the voyage or whatever. Or am I just hallucinating that that's what happens in that movie?
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah. And he's, like, obviously dying and whatever.
Yeah. There's an edited scene out of Prometheus, which is very odd that they took out for that sequence, because the biggest thing with Prometheus is that Prometheus is very much like this movie. You've got scientists, and yes, it sucks. You've got scientists going off to do scientist stuff, and they stumble upon danger that they're not prepared for.
Yeah,
right.
It is the third kind of horror.
Yeah,
you go someplace you're not supposed to.
Right. So they show up, and there's that problem. But when they get there, there's all sorts of dumb things that these scientists do, right? This movie does not suffer from that. These scientists typically are just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, also, most of them get killed before they can do dumb stuff, so yes.
Yeah, but, like, you watch Prometheus, and the guy takes his helmet off, and they're playing with... There's a sequence in that movie where David, the android who doesn't sleep, or the synthetic being who doesn't sleep...
Played by the wonderful
Fassbender?
Michael Fassbender.
He's so good.
Removes parts of everyone's brain.
Oh,
who's
that
sleeping.
that was the deleted scene.
Yeah.
when they're in like cryo
sleep, which makes that
Seems
movie
important.
make way more sense.
Yeah, of why everyone's acting dumb.
And also gives you an idea as to why, like, David, like, We talked about nefarious actions earlier. Like,
So-
David's nefarious. They give you that hint, and when he starts doing nefarious things on the planet, it's not like he just all of a sudden starts doing nefarious things after being super helpful for, like, 18 months they were all on the way there.
So
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick parallel between, Michael Fassbender's android's character removing parts of people's brains in Prometheus to Cabin in the Woods when they pump in the stupid gas to
Yes.
make everyone dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, because that movie originally, like, Chris Hemsworth, he's supposed to be like, the big buff guy.
Yep.
He's actually pretty intelligent
Right.
initially.
Before they screw with him. And
Yeah.
they being, the
it's a
engineers.
nice it's nice to play with the genre conventions
Yeah.
of
Right.
You're kind of subverting the tropes of the
exactly.
genre.
Exactly.
That actually
good-
doesn't look horrible.
Yeah,
for
that's
how
pretty
old
good.
that is.
No.
Wow, this beer is just super good, you guys.
That was a good shot.
Yeah.
And
it
it still looked good. Like, the Dutch angle here works. Like, this is 2003, 2004. This is
Yeah.
when CGI is at that sweet spot where, like, it could kind of still age well. That's bad.
That's bad.
That's bad. That's bad. bad bomb.
Actually, some of the worst part of this shot with these things falling is the snow itself. Looks really bad. It's a bunch of white plus signs.
Yeah.
I think it's because they're trying to do the slow-mo kind of thing. But
And that was bad because of the typical CGI failure of
no texture.
lighting.
Bad lighting.
Bad lighting.
The lighting on the CGI does not match the lighting of the live action.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit, dog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 3. We were trying to remember how many predators there were in this film before we started watching.
Oh my god, this makes me want to watch The Descent, which if you haven't seen it is a fucking great horror movie.
That's a brutal movie.
I heard it's
oh,
I've
it's
heard.
so good. I think I have the DVD. I'll have to check. Good talk.
Good talk.
This is a good set.
Reminds
Looks
me a lot of
great.
Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
I wish I had played.
I don't
more
know
of
if
that.
this is real or not.
Whoa, hold on. You haven't played Metroid Prime?
Yeah, I'm getting the stink eye from Max.
Oh boy. You're
Look
gonna
at
have to
them. Look at
borrow.
them perfect blacks, you guys. I'm so happy. with this.
I've got the Wii version of it. I will lend you it, and my Wii,
Yeah,
and my GameCube controller.
I'll have some beer and come over and handle your Wii for a bit. It'll be fine.
There you
That's
go.
not for you to handle.
Hey,
But okay.
I do like the motif here of the Wayland logo being all over everything, which is a call to the future, or to the future of this universe, but
Right.
the previous films, because Wayland Yutani's logo is all over everything in all of those films too.
Mm-hmm. No, this is
a good set, man.
Yeah,
It's a big set. I haven't seen a set this. That's CGI.
that's
Yeah.
That's CG. Obviously screen or matte painting maybe.
No, it's screen.
that's screen.
I'm thinking optimistically that there's still desire for
That
artistic.
even
okay,
doesn't
yeah.
look bad.
No, again, it's lit well.
Yeah.
Sanaa Lathan, what other movies have you been in? Also, call me.
I just viewed you in this crazy. I'm drinking barley wine.
She was in the first Blade movie with Wesley Snipes.
Oh,
Really?
she must. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I do appreciate that they just walk past those giant statues of
Predators.
of things, of some being on the way in. They're like, hey, you know what? Who built this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's walk back to statues.
I think they're too much in awe. Like you, James. If you were in such a thing and you're like, oh my god, we discovered a ziggurat underneath the ice.
As an anthropologist, you'd immediately have to start laying things out.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Watches.
She
Yep.
voiced a character in the AVP video game for Alien vs. Predator.
Did you guys ever play
Predator?
any of those games?
I heard they were great. Actually, we just recorded with Jordan. He was deep into AVP for a while. The video
Really?
game. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the old first person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That game was interesting. Like I had played just like a hair of it. You could play as the alien, the predator, or as a marine.
The
And
Marine,
you each
right.
had
Yep.
your own unique play styles, and I can appreciate that from a design standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never a series that I got into.
The new one was supposed to be pretty okay, if I remember correctly, too. This
New
is
AVP?
Yeah.
Or the new Alien.
I would say New Alien is
Alien
regarded
Isolation.
as
Alien Isolation
that's
is amazing.
one of the best games recently to come out on PC.
This is another incredible set. This movie has some great sets.
And this is practical effects right now.
Yeah,
That
this
is
is
a giant ass model of a queen.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
So this speaks to a lot of like where this movie could have been super cool, is what I was trying to as what I was hinting at. Like there's some really really cool ideas in this movie. Like the Predators effectively having this
Alien breeding facility, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Because it's very much like, oh yeah, you're confined, you're in cryo sleep,
Yeah.
you're God knows how old.
And something that they talked about when you were talking about the beer, they were discussing the origins of this temple, of the sea, and they kept saying, yeah, here they go. They talk about
You
it.
recognize the Egyptian, there's Aztec.
Aztec. And so I mean that even speaks more to how ancient, and it's a neat idea. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah. This also goes back to my reference to being it's very Call of Cthulhu like.
Yeah.
Of it being something that predates human civilization. It's something
Right.
that is
Predates man.
it is in everything.
Right.
Like I recently just got the Delta Green like handler's guide, which is like here's how you run the game, here's all the creatures and blah 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 blah.
Right.
And they tried not to do like, this is the star vampire or the dark young Ashab Niggurath. They went to like, the star vampire, they call it an Ifrit. So it's very much like, here's the cultural representation of what this creature is. Like here's
Gotcha.
here's where why it exists within human culture and whatnot. That it's always been there and whatnot.
Right. And that's one of the things I like about this movie is that this pyramid is Predator built, right?
Yes.
The one under Antarctica.
Yeah. Well,
however,
yeah.
they talk about that, they used to basically take human offerings to make aliens. Is
Yeah,
is
so
where
they
this
need
comes
someone
from.
to breed and
Right.
Yeah.
But these people have seen this temple and then went back to their own cultures and built these pyramids out of like, I saw this and I want to build these things too.
Yeah.
They don't fall into the like.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the spear.
It doesn't fall into the whole like ancient man was stupid and aliens built everything.
Yeah,
Ancient man
yeah.
was
It's
smart.
ancient man learned from aliens, and then this CGI holds up well. The
Surprisingly.
The scene where the spear was uncloaking was kind of, but it's like okay,
It wasn't
I can.
bad, honestly.
And even this the thermal vision, it's come a long way from the 80s ones, and it still looks okay.
Yeah.
Like even the original 80s thermal vision from the first Predator movie, it looks fine. It's acceptable for what it was and what it tries to convey, and looks great for here. I admire the shot because of the snow. To do the uncloaking with the Predator, or with the snow kind of blowing around, I think that's a good technical feat.
Yeah. This is another cool action sequence like you were talking about, Ryan. Wanting one. It's a cool fight to begin with. Oh no.
So
and I like how they aren't totally futile against them.
Yeah. Well, I mean they were, but they tried to fight.
I mean they're not like, oh no, they immediately died or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're gonna actually like put up a fight and try.
Mm-hmm. And go for it.
Enhance.
Secret chamber.
Yeah. Enhance.
That's a good. This is a good transition.
Yeah,
it's a
I
great
like that from
transition.
the 3D map to
All right. Yeah.
the cave shot. The audience will never know, but I got more beer just now.
Oh.
I love this set.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's just a lot of detail in the masonry, even in
The centerpiece.
the centerpiece of the actual alien logo, and
Right.
just
Yeah.
I'm really appreciating the lighting of this movie, or just the particle effects there. You can see like the snow or dust particles falling in. Or even there, like the skulls with the spine of reminiscent of the first Predator movie.
Yep.
Right.
Viewers / listeners, this will be one of the movies that, you know, we originally watched. It's like, oh my god, it's terrible. But then, like, upon reviewing it after several years, almost a decade plus probably, that we were like, yeah, this movie's actually pretty good.
Well, I think that the difference that happens with a lot of that is that we're much more apt at our age now to appreciate the technical aspects of these movies.
Yes, because everything we just commented on is more of a technical thing as opposed to a narrative thing.
Yeah, and often, and we've talked about that. Like, this is, even if the plot isn't there, if the movie's visually interesting,
Right.
it's fun to watch from that aspect.
Yeah.
I think a great example of that is a movie that I haven't seen, but I've heard from you, Ryan, which is the
Speed Racer? Yeah.
Speed Racer
I knew
movie.
you were going there.
Wachowskis, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of goes to an interesting discussion that we've had in a future episode because it's not released yet, but trailers. So a lot of sci-fi trailers recently have been like, look at these visuals.
Yeah.
So, and for some people, I'm like, okay, yeah, you have CGI, you can do some interesting visuals, but how does that factor into what you are doing with your movie?
Right. How
and this
effective
is some
is
good
the final
practical
product?
CGI.
That was
practical
great.
effects right there.
Yeah. They're doing a really good job in these shots of mixing CGI and practical effects as to hide the CGI from what's going on.
Right. Because
Conveyor belt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's just funny.
I get some very uncomfortable, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory analogies going on there. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's because the CGI effects in that recent scene are supplementary to the practical effects. They're not front and center, and the practical effects are a lot more convincing. They're a lot more visceral, for lack of a better adjective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There might be a rave down there now. You just dropped a glow stick.
This poor guy.
He's fine. Everything's fine.
I like the variety in the masks of the Predators because we've always
Some
seen
uniqueness.
the smooth faced.
Yep. So, this movie kind of hints at something that's going on with the Predator culture.
Okay.
That's much more deeper explored in another movie I hope we do, which is the Predators movie, which is actually a lot of fun, and watching these two movies kind of remind me of each other.
From what I've understood, that is a movie whose trailer lies in reference to what the movie actually is.
Yeah, that movie is there. I don't have too many bad things to say about Predators, actually. It knows what it is. It does a lot of goofy, fun stuff, and it's there as to what you want it to be.
Having not seen it, the description you just gave makes perfect sense because it's a Robert Rodriguez film.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That gives me some.
it's completely, it knows what's going on.
Okay, so but I would say my main complaint about what I've heard about it, because I've yet to actually watch it, is in the trailer. There's a scene where an actor's got the Predator target indicator, which is like the 3 little laser dots.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's covered in like a dozen of them or something like that.
Oh.
And in the movie, I'm told he's covered in like 3.
Yes. Yep.
Like that is to me one of the like you're selling me on one thing, but you're actually giving me something else.
Right, and it's
Bait and switch.
It's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's not. I shouldn't say it's really good. It knows what it is, and it's just a fun movie.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's totally fine. I'm on board with that.
Yep. What's today's date? Oh, we just showed up. Perfect timing. Oh, it's like we're in a movie.
It's the day.
This isn't how you do things. Don't do this.
This is like some Indiana Jones level of archaeology.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And then you
That
put
is
the bag
actually
of
a
sand
setting.
right here.
That is a setting I want to see Indiana Jones in.
Alien?
I want to see no. I want to see Indiana Jones in a cold.
Yeah,
setting.
that'd be
Because
interesting.
you've seen him in the desert.
Yeah, he's always
the
sweaty.
jungle, the
Yeah.
desert again.
Yep.
But he's the jungle again.
Yep.
But you've never seen him in the Arctic or
Yeah.
He's been on the
The tundra.
inside of a refrigerator.
That is true.
You shut your mouth.
That's some fucking nonsense.
There's a smoke machine in here.
Yeah.
Dry ice.
Dry ice
This
everywhere.
Predator dry ice depository. Hermetically sealed.
Yeah.
Shit, dog.
That's a good shot, though.
That's
Yeah.
a cool shot.
Because that is not what you expect to be in that
No.
chamber of being the
Just fucking
laser guns.
No.
baller ass weapons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You found some exotic weapons.
Would you like to pick up the
They
exotic
look like
weapons?
guns.
You have picked up the exotic weapons.
Yeah.
You don't have proficiency for them. -4 to hit.
I feel like that generic
bad.
Scottish bro has been in other movies we've
Was
watched.
he
Yes, he
also in Tomb Raider?
Oh, I remember almost nothing from that movie. I cannot comment on that.
You see the well, we know how you feel about trailers, but have you seen the trailer for the new one?
Oh, for the one with Alicia Vikander from
Sure,
Ex
that's the
Machina?
name.
Yes, Alicia Vikander. Yeah, it looked really good. It looks from the trailer for the new Tomb Raider. It looks like they're kind of just transposing the game directly into film, which
the newer game.
Yeah,
came
yeah,
out,
yeah. Which is
4 or 5 years
well,
ago.
yeah,
5 years ago?
there were two recent Tomb Raider games that were both very good. But I'm interested to see what the end result will be in that because again, it appears like they're just taking the cinematics from the game and making a movie out of it. I think that's fine, actually. We'll see. I don't know. Also, let's do the Assassin's Creed movie soon.
Oh.
So
Speaking of Fassbender,
I think this.
Yeah, right.
This scene would have been much more interesting, I guess, if the Predators hadn't been killing everybody already.
Right.
Because then that makes more sense as to why the Predators would start going after these guys. Like, hey, you're in the way and you're causing problems. Because from the way that this whole culture they've set up, we as a first time viewer, you wouldn't know that, but like this whole thing doesn't happen without the Predators having willing human subjects to do this. And they talk about how these people were placed on here, they were willing, they wanted to do this. So it doesn't make sense in my mind that these Predators would just show up and start murdering all the humans.
mm-hmm.
Or they probably would have shown up and been like, "Oh, hey,
Well,
like, are you here?"
they've murdered the humans that are not essential to getting these other humans into this chamber.
Yeah, but I don't. Did they know that there were people in the pyramid when they showed up on the surface?
I have to assume they did.
Maybe I feel like they did like a no, they did because you had that scan of their arm council, and then there was the transition into this room.
Yeah,
So you would and there were some heat signatures, and of course, the egg is always the egg opening effect is still great.
yeah.
It's still just awesome.
So those are a slight notice
Fucking face huggers, man.
that I from watching the other ones. That looks really good still.
Yeah, actually.
That was some. Oh,
was some
hold on.
good
I need
CGI.
my headphones are too loud. What were you saying there about the CG?
What I was going to say about the eggs is that those eggs actually have much smaller flaps that open up than the previous movies, which were much bigger. Which is I'm not nitpicking. It's just an interesting difference.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
That originally from what I understand about the eggs in the first Alien, they were only 2 flaps, not 4 flaps. So they looked much more like a vagina.
Okay.
Than,
Yeah, and the 4 flaps are from there are 4 flaps in Aliens.
oh, no, there's 4 flaps in the original one as well.
Yeah,
but
that was the
I was told
idea.
that was one of the psychosexual imagery of the first one
Which is very Geiger.
Oh, even to the extent that when the alien is dripping spittle,
Yeah,
it's KY jelly.
Yeah. Well, they use KY jelly for a lot of effects in Hollywood.
But the fact that well, we'll get into our Alien podcast later.
Wait,
but
have
there's
you,
so much.
I just need to make sure that you guys haven't forgotten how good this beer is.
So did they
Ryan? That answers our future question of what was your favorite beer from the past 25 episodes?
Oh, it's
Did they
super good.
rebrew this year? Do you know, or is this?
I don't know. I haven't been there in a couple months, so it's on my way home, so I can find out next week. So
so we're
I want to circle back around to my Predator point. I still
right.
don't think they should have killed those guys on the surface.
what? Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's not good sport.
Yeah, it's not, one, it's not good sport, and two, the whole idea here is that this is supposed to be a symbiotic relationship between the predators and the aliens. Or,
Okay.
I'm sorry, the predators and the humans.
So
Yeah,
I
the humans are the breeding stock for their prey.
and
The humans
I agree,
themselves are not the prey.
but the killing of those humans though, that to me, that strategically that's about control. You don't want loose ends that could disrupt your sequence, your ritual that you have established. So you tie up your loose ends. That's kind of what that is to me.
Okay,
I will agree with you on that point. And here in this scene right here,
This
with
is much
blonde
faster.
pixie chick, this seems like a very, very short gestation period in comparison with other movies we've seen with alien infestation.
I agree.
But that's for more of a narrative convenience than opposed to a thing.
Yep.
As
it should be a few hours.
as we will
Yeah.
talk about in a future episode about like nerds filling in the gaps about what is appropriate and the details and shit. You have to suspend some disbelief for some stuff.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I'm not going to give you the exact amount of time it takes for a
Right.
facehugger to infect someone with a zygote and
Right.
blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Well, and they could be doing some time dilation here. We don't know how long these guys have been hanging out.
This
down
is
here,
true.
too.
This is true.
So like here, they're getting more into it now, where they're talking about how they worshipped them and this and that. So
Yep.
I get tying up loose ends, and I also get them being like, "We're gonna kill the dude who shot me in the shoulder." Like that
Right.
guy's not cool.
So
Yeah.
But the guys that came up and just like started stabbing behind, I'm not saying that eventually they wouldn't have killed them. I think it's an odd step to take to just show up and immediately start killing them. Like if they would have shown up and been like, "Hey, what's up? What are you doing?" and they pulled guns and started firing on them, I get the slaughter. I don't get them just killing people from behind.
That was
I-
a good little effect there.
Yeah, that was cool. The Invisilasso.
Yeah.
Noose.
Well, I mean,
this is fine. This makes
right.
sense because they're like, "You guys stole our guns. Give them back."
right.
Yeah.
And I guess
Part of me is like, oh, you didn't come here with guns, but part of me is also
Ow.
like, oh, the ritual of the hunt, or these are the things that we do. We go into the pyramid, we get our guns. It kind of harkens back to a movie we didn't do today, Escanaba into Moonlight, about the ritual of the hunt.
yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be some good discussion for perhaps our second cleaning out the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like all of this makes sense. This all makes sense to me. And I don't know if they're trying to hint at something that, like I said in the Predators thing, is that there's actually a civil war going on between the Predators in many of the that they pull in from the Predators comic. There's a group that is like the honorable Predators, and there's a group that is like the we're just out here to murder everything Predators, and maybe these are like we're just going to murder everything Predators. So that's a big dork thing to bring up.
That is a super dark
Yeah,
thing.
that's
but-
kind of a
but
fringe topic.
Only
Yeah.
to the extent of, I would say, the supplemental material to Aliens and Predators is not as common as other franchises will say.
Yeah, and so that's why
Like Jason versus Leatherface. Or
Yeah.
Jason versus Freddy versus Ash, which is a thing.
yes.
Also,
I like that changing architecture there. Of like
Right.
the...
Remind me of 13 Ghosts.
with Tony Shalhoub
Yeah.
and Matthew Lillard. Why do I know these things? So also just really quickly, it was interesting. It's kind of a stretch, but that Jason Voorhees has been confirmed as being a Deadite within the shared universe of the Friday the 13th movies and the Evil Dead movies.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Same.
Based off of in Jason Goes to Hell, there is some actual like demonic stuff going on as opposed to just general you're a horror
Right.
guy
Horror
that's
bad guy.
hard to kill.
Right.
I love just the imagery along all the walls and everything. There are really big sets in this movie.
Yeah. And interestingly, so we're approximately 45 minutes into this movie, and there has been, 1.5 action sequences?
Yeah.
Approximately?
Yep. I think
I'm not saying that's, one way or the other as far as
No.
being bad or not, but it's just
I do think that was one of
interesting
our
for the
complaints when
cadence.
we watched it in the theater, though, Ryan, was that we both wanted there to be more of the action
More
in
of
this movie.
Aliens versus Predator, perhaps?
Yes, yeah, I'd like to see more of the title.
Well,
of this movie.
I'm trying to think back to the various movies, particularly Alien and Predator, the first of the two series.
Yeah.
Alien had a lot of menace and then a lot of quick bursts, a lot of jumps, a lot of shots and then death. Predator, it was an action movie.
Yeah.
Alien was a horror movie.
Yep.
Alien is very much a horror movie. Aliens is very much an action movie.
Right.
Predator is very much an action movie. There's a whole other plot of going into the rebel base or whatever and blah, 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 blah. But because you have a large group in Predator, you have one or two are being picked off at a time and they all have guns, they're soldiers. It's going to be a much more
You have 2 state governors.
action-y.
Yes.
2 state governors. You're going to have the much more action-oriented plot.
That's practical, and that's just fucking cool.
Yep. The Shrine of the Silver Monkey. I enjoy this shot there of the triangular hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
It's a targeting hallway.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean,
so it's just
one is a horror franchise I attribute to being a horror franchise. One is more of an action franchise. Like Alien 3, it's all over the place, but it's not.
I need to see that again. It's been a long time.
It's been a been a long time.
Alien 3 is trying to hint at Alien.
It is, yeah. And from what I've seen, that's a great shot there. The dropping off floor and the guy's legs breaking. There were some designs for Alien 3 that were unused where it was a xenomorph of some kind that kind of had lips. It was going to be more of the sexual kind of sexual imagery or such, and they would infect you some way or whatever, or the planet being made entirely of wood or something or other. Just a bunch of
that's
so many
rewrites.
rewrites.
Yeah, it's just at an absolutely primal level.
Yeah,
I find the xenomorphs to be utterly horrifying.
Oh, that's a good
the
fake
roar,
out. That's a very Jurassic Park Raptor.
Yeah.
Of being like, it's not the one in front of you, it's the one from the sides.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Like that's the kind of imagery that I just get in dreams that are horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
That's never something I've.
So I'm gonna real quickly. I'm gonna dive into. I guess dive is too strong a word. Some other Paul W.S. Anderson movies that I very much enjoy. I'll maybe get some flack for this, but the first Mortal Kombat movie is a great action movie.
I like that movie.
And then Event Horizon is one of my absolute favorite horror flicks.
Event Horizon.
Oh, it's so good. Dude, it's so good.
But if only for the reputation of the minute or two that was removed from the movie for being too gruesome.
There's 14 minutes
of that. Excuse me. 14 minutes.
That were not just removed from the movie, but Anderson actually destroyed. So no one can ever see it again.
Right.
Is this the net that keeps squeezing him?
Yeah. You saw it being retrieved. Yeah, and you see the cuts in his gloves.
Yep. This is a horrible sequence for somebody.
Yeah. See, I mean, so this movie is rated PG-13. This is the only film in both franchises to be rated that. And I think this says a lot to the varying differences in the Film Association of America, who comes up with these things.
The MPAA.
Yeah. Yes, MPAA. That's what it's called. Thank you. The greatest example the most common example I know of is Batman Begins. In Batman Begins, Batman at one point is set on fire by the Scarecrow. Oh, that's nice. I paused there to admire this.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, the CGI
the tail actually doesn't look great, but the Predator part looks great still.
Yeah, the alien is.
This is great right here.
This is good.
Yeah.
This
setting
is,
up the conflict, really.
Yeah.
The mouth.
Or perhaps not setting it up, but, emblazoning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit, man.
Oh.
Yep, he's like, okay, it's time to go to work. But, so Batman Begins, Batman gets set on fire when he's under the effects of the fear toxin, blah, 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 blah. and then throws himself out the window. I remember reading an article back when it came out that, had that movie came out in the early 90s, that would have been an R rating. Just from the violent act of someone being set on fire.
Sure.
I mean, he doesn't get burned because of his armor and et cetera, et cetera.
But just setting someone on fire.
Setting someone on fire.
Yeah.
Just
like someone being immolated,
yeah,
on screen.
So this is all practical right here, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
CGI.
CGI.
But before that was all practical.
There was a lot of guy in suits.
So, it's interesting. So this is, in a general kind of perspective, it's very intriguing to me as an audience member to see two creatures, mythologies, fighting against each other that independently, in either case, I would be fucked versus either of these, right?
Yeah.
So these are two things that are just totally beyond my scope of survival that are battling it out, which makes it kind of interesting. Again,
that was cool to see the how the knife switched orientation. Yeah,
right.
So what I think works better for this as opposed to Freddy vs. Jason, as far as Freddy's very much like, oh, I'm gonna toy with you, and Jason just like, I'm gonna fucking straight up murder you.
Right.
Is they both stalk. They both wait for the opportune moment, but the alien and the predator versus they take their time for the kill. They're gonna kill you when it's convenient for them.
Hey, where's the beer?
There you go, Ryan.
Thanks, sir.
I mean, you can argue that there's some differences in the methodology. Like the predator uses knives and guns and thermal vision and such, which gives him the advantage versus the xenomorph just being an utterly killing machine.
Yeah.
But both of them hunt, I would say.
Oh, it's the
you see the xenomorph stalking and
yeah.
You've seen the predator stalking before, and it
gotcha, bitch.
Yep.
It's the terror of primal fear, which is the xenomorph versus not like knowledgeable
predatory fear.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
It's like it's the difference between being hunted by like a wolf and being hunted by another person.
Right. Nature versus like a most dangerous game kind of scenario.
Yeah, it's nature versus technology.
That's a great shot right there.
Yeah, so we're a few minutes in now to what I was kind of expecting to be a lot more present in the first 45 minutes of this fucking movie.
That's a brutal shot right
there,
too, with all the human graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think that since the predator's blood is like that neon green, that again probably goes to why they get away with the PG-13.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
right.
for sure. Yep.
Because the sequel to this movie, Requiem,
R.
goes for the R.
Well,
but there's a lot more human deaths. There's a forced impregnation of the Predalien.
Yeah, there's a lot of brutal stuff in.
I actually haven't seen that on the list.
Oh, it's
brutal.
It's not good.
No, it's really not good, and it's also it makes up for being not good by being overly brutal.
Right. And if I'm remembering, it's actually directed by some brothers that are more well known for their special effects than their directorial capabilities.
That would make sense.
And I'm gonna probably catch some heat for this, which would be analogous to sometimes Guillermo del Toro, who's oftentimes better at presenting a visually striking scene versus something that's narratively impactful. I like a lot of his stuff. Don't get me wrong. I very much like his movies. But like Pacific Rim is a good example. Like it's a fine enough movie. It's got a lot of like set pieces, and to go to the Zack Snyder kind of criticism, he does a lot of moments, but narratively it kind of sucks sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't disagree with you. I think
that is the movie that
Bye,
you see
Bishop.
him also arguing against, of people being like, "Oh, it's a big action movie. It can't be your personal thing." And he's like, "No. This scale of the movie can be just as personal to him." Which
no, they do certain things in that movie. Like I really appreciate the fact that Mako Mori and the main character, who I can't remember his name of.
Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam,
I don't know his character.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter what his name
But
is.
they have a platonic relationship.
Right.
I really appreciate that. And I think
Right.
that's
They're not
what you
trying to
kinda-
bone each other. They're just,
Yeah.
they respect each other's capability and what they've gone through to get there.
Right.
Yeah,
What you're talking
he,
about.
at one point he says like, "No, I want her to be my partner, not because I want to bone her, but because that's just the best."
She's the best.
Yeah, she's the best. Yeah, that's
No, but I think I know what Ryan's point is, which is that you go to a Guillermo del Toro movie to see the visually stunning things that he's going to do.
And it does not disappoint
It
in
never
that respect.
disappoints. He's not a bad director in any way, in any sense of the form.
great
No.
shot there of the
Yeah,
slow.
that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
cool.
This movie has some good use of slow mo. Sorry to interrupt you, James.
No,
Totally
but-
fine.
and that's not going for a full criticism of it, but you're not going to his films to. This
I
is another great
fucking
shot.
love that shit. Federer's all like, shit, dog. And that was kind of a throwback. So the alien kind of initially in the earlier shots, just being part of the background.
Well,
And
that's
unless
very
you're
much a callback
looking
to the
for
pro-
it-
the previous movies.
Right. Unless you're looking for it, you don't see it. And then it just kind of, comes out of the back. This is great. That's a great shot.
Yeah. So,
But-
you can be a good director and have people still go to see your visually stunning aspects of things.
Right. So that kind of harkens back to the episode we recorded before this one. Why do you like the thing that you like? Like, people might like a movie, the same movie, but they might like it for different reasons, right? So Guillermo del Toro, you might be fine with just falling in love with the visual aspects of his movies, which is great. But sometimes, if you're looking for some more narrative impact, like Crimson Peaks is a good one for me.
I love that movie.
I have seen it once. I saw it in the theater. It was definitely advertised incorrectly.
That is again,
Which is a
going back to
huge
our-
problem I had. Yeah, trailer stuff. But, visually speaking, like, the movie is incredible from a lot of aspects. And if that's what you want from a movie, then you're going to love it, right? From GDT.
Yep. I think the greatest thing about that movie is, from a marketing standpoint, it's like, ooh, this is a ghost story.
So cool.
It was
edit right
actually,
there.
Yeah.
it is a story with ghosts in it.
Right,
And
right.
they touch upon that within the movie. And chanting in ancient language.
Yes.
the closed captions. This is kind of timely, actually. So I guess scientists are discovering right now some giant cavities in the pyramids in Egypt that they don't know
in
what
Giza.
is
Yeah,
inside
they
of them.
put some probes in there or
Right.
something. And
Yep. So I guess I was wrong that they did expect that they did the whole like aliens. taught them how
Well,
to build
yeah, but still, there was some human progression
thing. Yeah.
beyond that or whatever.
I don't know why, but I
Great
really
serpents,
like that
huh?
they call them serpents.
Yeah.
It calls back to, I guess, just because it calls back to the old like here be dragons
Mhm.
Yeah.
type of thing.
How
Here's
would you
all the
guys?
aliens.
How would you guys have felt if this was the opening of the movie? If it
Again,
opened with the
I want to see
in
this
ancient
movie.
yeah,
Well, yeah, of course.
I want
That's what we want to see.
I want something in the opening 5 minutes of this movie that is very action oriented and high excitement, that kind of hints at where the story will be going to and exploring later in the movie, which this movie does not do.
Yeah, but but my main question is, if the opening of the movie was that montage
Mhm.
of that guy doing the voiceover, being
Sure.
like, in ages past, blah, 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 blah,
I would have
blah,
been
blah.
fine with that.
I would have been cool with it being the first half of that and him being like, I have this tablet and we don't know where it came from and I want to go here.
Okay, so it
then
goes from it sequences from that tale to in like a lab or that cargo bay where it's like, I
And-
have this tablet,
Right, and then he gets
something
here,
something blah 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 blah.
and then they get here and he finds the other half of it, right, and puts it there and is like, oh god, it's this ritual, and they
So real quick, does anyone think this guy is playing skinny Simon Pegg through most of this movie?
a
Yes,
little bit, yeah.
This is an interesting scene from a narrative perspective of like you've never seen something from someone bound up before they're about to get bit
So
or
this
infected.
For me, at least, the facehuggers have always been genuinely creepy and unsettling because they are actually so similar to real creatures, like real sea creatures, like sea crabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's not so far stretched beyond what we know to be real.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, even the designs of them, like
Oh my God, so many
their
eggs.
little hands
Right.
are like they're supposed to look like fingers. And again, this is straight up a Giger of.
Yeah.
Freud would just have a field day with Alien.
That's cool. That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
The
Good old
so
mind
in the,
calendar.
in the extended version of Aliens, you do find people that have been put up against the wall.
Yeah.
So you don't get to see the eggs going after them. You don't get to see that insemination.
No, but
process,
you
get to
see
the
someone who's
aftermath
still
of it.
alive.
You see someone who's still alive. Yeah, I like the harken back on that too.
I mean, Aliens along with Blade Runner are probably the two films that when you say director's cut, those are probably the version people have seen the most. Like I don't think I've never actually seen the theatrical cut of Alien or excuse me, Aliens.
That is odd to me.
Yeah, because again, like Blade Runner, both of those movies are movies I saw on TV for the first time, and it was Aliens, director's cut, Blade Runner, director's cut, and those have always been what has been further released. Like the theatrical cut of those two movies are the only time you can really see those versions, unless you have like a very, very early release on home video of those two movies.
Well, I have the version I have has both, which is nice.
This is probably the same for me for Aliens, but
I
don't need to watch the original one.
Her call right there that she is like she's looking at the big picture there as to what's going on. Like we can't allow these things to get to the surface.
Yeah.
And try to make friends with the predator. And the cut there that you don't know whether he's been inseminated or not.
Oh, it's obvious he has.
But I mean, it's
Oh,
supposed
come
to.
on.
It's supposed
You see
to be
him
like.
yeah.
It's supposed to be like, hey, what happened?
Más o menos.
Particularly with the time, like the not quite sure timeline they've given us already.
Okay.
Where like
yeah.
the humans got chest bursted within minutes. It seems like of opening. Although we said it could be time dilation.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, they're playing with the idea here is to play with the audience, and I'm not gonna
Yes.
to go after the director for playing with the audience.
No. It's a nice little.
That's a
That was a cool
shot.
shot,
It's a nice
man.
play. I feel like if you hadn't seen him kill the original one, like the first one,
Yeah.
then maybe it would have been more of a surprise.
Or they're trying to go with he's capable of killing them, so maybe he did, maybe he didn't. You could do that too.
Yeah, but again, like if you hadn't see him like just like throw out his shuriken and kill one of them,
Yeah.
the had he actually killed it, been much more ambiguous.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the director, oh my God, Paul W.S. Anderson, I would have really liked to have seen some more movies from him
That weren't Resident Evil movies.
that were not Resident Evil. I mean, it's fine. He ended up he married Mila Jovovich,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
So which is his main protagonist of all of his movies of the last fucking 10 years at least.
Are they
But-
still making those movies, Ryan?
Yes.
Is there one more coming out?
I think so,
I
yeah.
think there might be one more coming. Fine, whatever. We've got some more homework to do on those movies, but
Yeah.
from again the first Mortal Kombat and especially Event Horizon, I feel like I would have liked to have seen more from him as a director that was not Resident Evil and not AVP.
Yeah, I think he fell into
Fell
because
into
those Resident Evil movies, for as crap as they are, make a ton of money.
Oh hell, that's why there's like 9 of them, or
Right.
7 or whatever the
So
fuck.
I mean, it's kind of like I don't like a lot of his other movies, also, but it's the Michael Bay trap, right?
Yeah.
Like pre Transformers, Michael Bay, he did Bad Boys, he did
Bad Boys
Armageddon?
2,
Armageddon. He did. I mean,
They're
he did
fun movies. The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, he did these. They were still over the top and Michael Bay-ish, but you don't fall into this thing where you become not just like iterative of yourself, but every time you're constant. There's one person you're trying to overtake, and it's yourself. And so your movies become caricatures of them, of what you used to do.
It's like when they made like a Epic Rap Battles of History, where they had him as one of the characters. It was the big.
I haven't seen that one.
It was the big, yeah.
But I like that series.
There's a filmmaker mashup where
I remember this.
Hitchcock, Kubrick, Tarantino, and Michael Bay.
Oh God,
Michael Bay does not even belong in that group.
But like, if you think of it, think of those movies we listed off for Michael Bay, right? This is a cool sequence here, by the way, when they're interacting with each other.
Yeah,
but
it's not what you expect.
No, but if you think about it, okay, Michael Bay made The Rock, right? Which is it's cheesy, but The Rock is fun.
Really fun action movie.
Really fun. Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 might be some of the best cop over the top action movies that there are.
Certainly,
that is not The Bright.
I mean, yeah, they are.
I'm so excited for that movie.
Astonishingly good when you go back and watch them. Like they're ahead of their time actually for the action sequences that he puts together. But now he's making Transformers movies where they have King Arthur in them. What?
Okay, so they just okayed 5 more Transformers movies just
3
recently.
hours, 10 minutes.
Oh my God! So fuck that shit. But
Anthony Hopkins.
I'm not even going to discuss this right now.
We've broken Ryan.
Right? Yeah. I'm just shut off. Blue screen.
But I mean,
blue screen of death.
You get the same problem, right? With Paul Wes Anderson. I mean, we kept saying, well, there's one more Resident Evil movie. There's been one more Resident Evil movie
4
for the last 4 movies. It keeps being like, well, this will be the last one. Well, this will be the last one. But
yeah.
I also get it. Like, if you know that you can make something that you can easily do, right? Like, I mean, he's not straining himself to make these Resident Evil movies, just like Michael Bay isn't straining himself to make these Transformers movies,
right?
And you know that that's
pretty cool.
A studio, yes.
I like how Netface survives.
Yes, yeah.
Netface dodges
Netface.
for someone else to die.
That a studio is going to turn around and give you $20 million to make this. I'm not going to fault that guy for taking the money on that.
No.
I was, and James, you and I talked briefly about this the other day, but Pain and Gain is a Michael Bay directed movie. You know, it's kind of set aside from the rest of his usual, to do as far as Hollywood, blockbuster stuff. And Pain and Gain is legitimately one of my favorite just weird action movies because it's so just goofy and weird. And I don't know. It seems to be like Michael Bay is just kind of detaching himself from the expectation of his audiences and just being like, okay, this is what I want to do with this story. And the end product is pretty great,
I think
actually.
that's the problem of becoming like a big director is
right.
Being able to do what you want to versus being able to do what you can get funded for.
Sure.
Like I feel Christopher Nolan is still very much able to do like, here is the movie I want to do. You will give me money. I will make you money. Deal with it. I think Dunkirk is very much an example of that.
I still have yet to see that.
I love Dunkirk.
Dunkirk is a great movie. I do not want to watch it again. I don't want to watch it again. I appreciate it for what it's done, for what it does narratively, cinematically, very well cast. But it is
just real.
It's brutal to watch.
Right. I haven't seen it, but to step aside quickly here. So just the fact that this predator has not murdered Sanaa Lathan.
That was my follow-up question originally, why I stopped you. Like, how do you guys feel about this?
He does not murder her because she killed an alien.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
But how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel? I mean, more of how do you feel about the interaction of him seeing her as an equal, almost?
It's like it's from the predator's perspective. For me, it's you're more than just prey, because you have killed a thing that I have been endeavoring with much difficulty to kill on my own, and you did it. It's a respect thing. It appears to me.
I will agree with you. This is bad CG.
Yeah, that was bad. This is great. Queen is great.
Yeah. No, the Queen is great. But this is more of. Do you think? Well, it's kind of more of a narrative thing. Do you think that the predator respects her because he's known he's down to one?
No, I think he respects her because he's a hunter, and but I will preface that by saying, I know this is brutal, but it's such a cool making sense thing. Like
when it actually happens,
use my own blood to get me out of here. But I say that out of knowing the whole, like, there's a civil war going on between the predators, that there would be there's a group of predators who fully respect any species who are honorable in the hunt. And there's another group of predators who view themselves as the apex predator that just kills anything and everything that they can.
Right.
And an interesting thing I've heard about the term apex predator does not mean that you yourself are not susceptible to something else on your level. So you could have like an apex predator, which is like everything below me is prey.
Right.
But that does not mean that you yourself are not susceptible to something on the same tier.
Right. But you don't have to respect those things.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's where this comes from, is that this predator is a predator that respects other hunters.
So it's the former from the two groups that you described.
Yeah. But like I said, that's a deep cut of
like.
Where does the Civil War stuff come from? Is that from like the comics or the novels, or
it's from the comics and the novels? It's just and I will say, the movie Predators speaks to it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is one of the reasons why I like it, is that it's kind of it doesn't go deep into it, right? It's not going to be like in the beginning or anything like that. But it shows and hints at what that would be. And it's a really cool idea to have this group that we're terrified of also have their own problems. It fleshes them out, right?
Yeah. Whenever I see a human like kind of like tied up in something like this, like the aliens web, I don't know what to call it, the resin.
They call it a resin. Yep.
Like I always think from like a
that's a cool shot.
Yeah.
A film perspective, just like what it took to like construct that.
Oh yeah. That's actually a really good point. To be the
to put someone, okay, all right, Sean or whatever his name is, or whatever the actor's name is, we're gonna put you in this thing. We're gonna put these layers, around you and blah 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 blah, and we're gonna do like 7 takes.
Right.
Man.
I think this is where the Predator. I mean, he really
Beetle.
respects her. Like this is like it turns into a buddy cop movie here.
Yeah,
almost,
it
right?
does. It does. But like, that's one of the things I think is the
like right there. He's like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, I was gonna kill you.
He's all, man, fuck your shit. Yeah, done.
Just
Dude, fucking Predator, so cool.
Okay, so, and I want to harken back to that shot because they showed it again. In the burial chamber, or in the sacrificial chamber, there is a wall of human skulls still attached to their spines.
Yeah.
Clearly
humans
displayed.
They have killed.
Yeah, but clearly displayed in an honorific manner. The Predators are still honoring these people who have sacrificed themselves to this. So that's why, like, I am completely cool with the Predators killing the guys who are shooting them back. I just wish it would have. The movie really goes out of their way to talk about all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would have just kind of stuck to that a little more at the very beginning, because it would have been a really interesting thing. Like, hey, why aren't they killing these guys?
Right.
Because we've seen 2 Predator movies at this point where the Predators are just going after people. We're like, why aren't they taking these guys out? Oh, now they're shooting them.
We see this Predator communicating in a pantomime fashion.
Yeah.
With a different species.
Right.
And he's all, fuck this shit. I'm going to kill them all.
Yeah.
He's like, well, this thing has gone kind of out of... This thing has gone off the rails.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're just going to blow all this up and pretend it
It's
never
time to hit
happened.
Time to hit the big red button.
Yeah.
That's a bad shot right there.
So I'm going to draw just perhaps a loose parallel between one of our recent episodes. In Freddy versus Jason, in this scenario, the Predators to me are Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because even the way they move, they're big, they're lumbering.
Right.
Is that net face?
And where that Freddy is.
No, I don't believe
there.
so.
There's no situation where you sympathize with Freddy.
Yeah.
And with the xenomorphs, you never care about them.
This is a cool shot, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Gotcha, bitch.
Yep. That's a great shot. Net face.
There's net face. But so one of the things I will say is maybe they make the predators a little too sympathetic.
It's just this guy though.
Yeah.
The other two were
yeah, they were straight up murder hobos.
Yeah, they were. Yep.
They were your average D&D player.
Do you think this is the same sledding tube from the Super Mario Brothers movie?
No, it's the same sledding tube from
it's not a mattress.
that Denise Richards rides.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh. But going to the sequel of this movie, which is objectively terrible, is there's only one predator. He's referred to as Wolf, and like as far as like differentiating between one predator or another, he actually is called Wolf.
Yep.
And he's much more like the other two that we've saw in this movie, where he's just like, "Yep, you're dead."
Yeah.
It's more of you're not rooting for either of them. You're rooting for more. You're rooting for the humans of the movie.
Yep.
I mean, and that movie takes place in a more of a. They're not isolated. They're not in Antarctica. They're in like Denver.
They take place in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, Colorado. Colorado. So that's more of like, yes, I'm rooting for the humans on the humans' turf, as opposed to Antarctica, which is still very much an alien landscape for all intents and purposes.
Right.
So
that whole sequence still looked really good.
It didn't look too bad. I was just thinking about that.
I think it's the use of the slow-mo.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also because it's dark out here. They have very good control over the lighting.
And I think we've touched on that briefly in other movies, is that if you're going to have a CGI-heavy sequence, doing it at night is a little more... It's a little more convincing.
Yes, we've even
it's
talked
not
about,
as difficult to
we even
match.
talked about it in this movie, just the lighting of having the flares, and I do enjoy the close-ups on the Predator's like gas valves.
Yeah. There you go.
Like, hey man, whatever.
Yeah.
We just fucked that shit up. Right there, the eyes on the Predator were just so unmenacing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very human.
They're very
they have
relatable.
Regular sized.
He's got
pupils.
He's like, now I got to burn you. Hold on.
He's got an almost empathetic countenance to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, dog. Check this acid out.
You're gonna get marked.
Yep. Yeah.
And she's like, "Yep. Do me."
It hurt.
Ow, ow, ow. But also, thanks for not killing me.
Yeah. Michael Bain gets taken out, or gets
Michael Bain?
Not Michael Bain.
I like the idea of that. Anyway,
who plays Hicks?
It's like Kyle something, isn't it? No, that's the fucking Terminator one.
Is it Beale?
I'll find it.
Okay. He gets hit with acid and just gets completely taken out. So
he just like just hard to the left.
Well, he goes out for the rest of the movie. There's also the guy who plays Drake that gets completely taken out by acid.
Yeah.
This is another cool. This still doesn't look bad.
No. This movie has held up a lot better than I expected it to.
Yeah.
I still feel like they're using miniatures or puppets for the majority of the queen. Not the tail.
I was going to say, that right there speaks to that. I think that there's a good portion of the queen that is, like, that's CGI, that. Obviously, clearly. But they have the queen model, and then they're using CGI as, like, an addendum to it. And they've done that throughout much of this movie.
Yeah, that's not good. But,
yeah.
But even, so I listened to Aliens with commentary by one James Cameron, and they're talking about the construction of the queen puppet, and it's a 9-foot tall shim-sham conglomerate thing where it's not, shot in the foreground to be huge looking or whatever. It is literally that huge, and that's why that movie holds up as well, like in the close-ups, as it does when it's, the full-on shots of the Queen's body.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Michael Bain does play Hicks, by the way.
Oh,
yeah, Michael Bean.
Bean, sorry.
Bean, not Bane.
Bean.
Yeah,
It might be. I have no idea. It might be either. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the effects in this movie definitely hold up. They're looking pretty good.
Like even that's doesn't
not
look
bad.
Doesn't look great, but doesn't look
CG,
bad.
Yeah,
For
it's
a movie
fine.
that came out
it's
in-
showing a lot more motion than you could get with practical.
Yeah.
Which is when I think that's
Right.
like, okay, you do the CG.
Yeah.
And again, I think
So remember how old this movie is too. This is
2003.
right.
Yeah.
In my faux expert opinion, a lot of it is largely due to whoever decided to put time into matching the lighting
Yeah.
of the CGI versus the live action effects.
Everyone knows the mighty shovel is
Right.
where this goes to.
Oh,
Another
once
cool
again.
shot right
Yeah.
there.
It's almost like when you have a first-person shooter game, you start the game off with a wrench.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're going to be in good. You're in a good game.
Yeah. That's her Gordon moment.
Yep. Man,
Gordon Freeman?
Now I want to go play System Shock 2 again.
Oh, that's a good game.
Aren't they making another? I thought they were making another.
I think they kickstarted it to do a
remake?
a remake
A
of
revamp?
the very first one.
You know, James, you had talked a lot
System
about how
Shock
good
2
that
is
was.
so good. You'd like that, Ryan, because it is a very horror-centric
It is a
movie.
survival horror.
Sure.
As someone who you love BioShock, you will
Oh,
love System
dude.
Shock 2.
Fucking BioShock 1, top tier. Absolutely.
I prefer BioShock 2.
I like that
I haven't
shot.
played it.
I
Yeah, that's
really
good.
like that
looks
shot.
great.
BioShock 2, you get to play as a Big Daddy.
I heard Minerva's Den was
Oh my
even
gosh,
better.
Minerva's Den is great. Minerva's Den being the DLC for BioShock 2. I prefer BioShock 2. I think narratively it is more interesting. It doesn't have that twist in the first one, which I think a lot of people when they talk about how strong the narrative of the first game is fall on that a lot. I think also Act 3 of BioShock 1 is kind of weak once you get put into the suit, or just the end game of that move. The end game of that game is but 2 I think is the superior game just from also an atmosphere, because you get glimpses of what the world was like before it went to shit down there. But both are solid games, but I prefer 2.
Fair enough. I haven't played 2, so I can't comment on that one.
I think that I like this scene when they show up like that, and it's
Yeah.
just like,
It
you're
reminds me a lot
like,
of the
oh,
end of
you're
Predator
cool.
2.
Yeah, like you're cool. See it.
Well, Predator 2 is also what gave the hints of Alien vs. Predator being a thing, because there was the xenomorph skull
Yeah,
on the
ship.
Yeah, on the ship,
Which-
or the trophy cabinet, or whatever it was.
Which is interestingly kind of a parallel to the, Freddy's glove coming up and grabbing Jason's mask at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, right? And
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah,
it down
it's supposed to
into
just
the
be
earth.
an Easter egg that's fun or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Easter egg is fun, but it also it's one of those things that it's like, oh, we're hinting at a larger thing. You use your imagination
Yeah.
to fill it in.
Fill it in.
That's a good shot. That's a
Yeah.
very
That's a
film
cool-
noir shot of the harsh lighting in the background, the soft light in the foreground. I've been watching a lot of Humphrey Bogart movies lately.
That's not great CGI right there. Well, the CGI is great.
It's-
Her in front of the screen
yeah,
is not great.
yeah. If she wasn't,
If she wasn't there,
oh.
that shot would look
Yeah,
awesome.
the
Yeah.
lighting mismatch is what takes you out of it.
Yep.
But I mean, this is for me at least. This is an earlier example of a Hollywood movie where there's a really ever-present, strong female lead, and interestingly, not a white female lead in this case.
Yeah,
We're still struggling for that.
yeah.
Right.
You have a female of color in this that's really, she's very competent.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, no.
certainly.
and
She's
But-
good in her field and good at the combat.
Yeah, and she's not. They do a really good job of making it so that she's not. It's not that she's so competent that like everybody else looks stupid around her. It's
Yeah.
that she is a fully fleshed out, believable character.
Yeah, and all the other characters portray their competency.
Yeah.
Like the guy's able to translate all of his things and blah 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 blah. So
Yeah. Oh, and here we go. Like you were talking about, Max.
this is a good stinger.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, a question to you guys. I haven't seen Requiem. So does that play directly into how
Yes.
Requiem starts? Or
Yes.
okay.
No.
Yeah. Well, it plays directly into what the threat of Requiem is.
Yes, there you
Okay.
go. I'll agree with that.
Which is
A-
that thing grown.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't show up immediately.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Right.
You're.
Yep.
You are.
'Cause-
You are correct.
So I've been going through with the last, was it 4 or 5? I think 4 movies of the Friday the 13th series with Kayla,
Okay.
which has been
How
interesting.
far are you in there?
So 4 movies in, and I actually kind of very much like that the end of a given movie is always how the next movie starts, which I've actually kind of like that for something that's supposed to be just going, iteration after iteration after iteration for a series. I kind of like that they're grounding a current release, at least to a believable degree, in the previous fiction.
Okay. If I recall correctly, Nightmare on Elm Street does that kind of.
I need to get back into it to say anything. but-
There is some carryover between the narrative
Geiger.
or characters that reappear throughout the series, like Nancy, the female protagonist or final girl of the first movie, is in it up until I believe the end. I think I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I know there's at least, I think 4 and 5 have a couple of, Friday the 13th have the same characters, which the ending ties up with
Right.
the second one.
Yeah, and I mean, so 4 movies into Friday the 13th, it's not even half the series, but as far as being like a chain link effect between iterations of the movie, it's been good. I've enjoyed it because it grounds what you're watching now in what you saw before. It may not carry itself through the entirety of what you're going to watch in the next 90 to 140 minutes, but it does definitely provide some gravitas to the previous movies. They're not just a disjointed series of just random iterations of slasher flicks. Right. And again, it's only four movies into a series that's what 10, 11 movies long. 11 if you count Freddy vs. Jason.
12 if you count the reboot in early or late aughts.
But I find myself actually very much liking that they tie themselves to each other in that way.
Interesting. All right.
So the movie's over.
Yeah. So back to the current film franchise matchup.
Right.
Alien vs. Predator. Somewhat fulfilling to what the two franchises were. I don't know. Let's see. View again, brew again. What do you guys think about these beers in this movie? James.
So James.
Yeah, I'd watch this again.
Double gun fingers.
I actually, I enjoyed this more than I expected I would. Because I remember watching it and I remember being disappointed by it, but the effects of this movie are incredibly
good a lot of
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
The sets, the lighting, it's a visually very interesting movie. And one of the things that it does that I appreciate from watching Aliens last night is that it keeps the inhuman movements of the aliens.
Right.
So one of the things that James Cameron made the aliens suit wearers do is study the movements of animals.
Right. Non-human beings.
Non-humans, because the human eye and brain can quickly spot somebody that's moving like a person.
Yeah. You can be. Yeah. That's a dude in a suit.
Right. It's one of those quirks of humanity that you can quickly spot what somebody is, a human outline or a human shape or human gait.
Yeah,
it's a big thing.
The ambulation of another human.
So even though they used a decent amount of CGI on these creatures, they still made them move in the ways that they moved in Aliens.
Okay.
there's a bit more jumping and everything. Kind of, I mean, you could do a little more CGI, like we're talking about. That you can't have the practical effects of the queen whipping around, and
stumbling
everything.
around, and
yeah. But it speaks to the idea of what the xenomorphs are. This just brutal,
a plague.
I mean, they're a virus, right?
Yeah. And for all of its faults, I will say that Alien 3 kind of did that when they had the xenomorph was a spawn of a dog.
Yeah.
The human, where
it was running around
it moved
everywhere.
differently. It felt like it moved faster. The fact that there were a couple of shots in the movie, I think, where it was from the POV, where it was like going through
the tunnels and everything.
The tunnels,
Yeah.
I think that might have been the first Alien footage I've ever saw. I distinctly remember like going through those rust-covered tunnels of what it was and such. So you think of the aliens as being born of humans and therefore having some kind of human traits, but making them more animal-like is what increases the fear, I think.
Right. Yeah, and they do a really good job separating out what really could just become like a stand in the hallway and punch each other fight between the aliens and the predators. The aliens are skulking. They're in the shadows. They're moving around. Whereas the predators, because they can be invisible, are like standing in the middle of the hallway, stabbing you with a sword. Right?
Yeah. It's the many versus the few. Like it's a swarm, like a plague of locusts.
Yeah.
Versus a monolith that's kind of standing against it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I honestly would watch it again. I don't have too horrible of a problem with this movie outside of the fact that, like you talked about, it takes a while to get going.
Yeah, again, for me, starting with some sort of action sequence to narratively tie what's about to happen for the next at least 30 minutes to your movie would have been better.
Well, I mean, you could, I posit this, you could cut off the first 30 minutes of this movie, have them showing up at the whaling town, and enter into that sequence with the first half of that flashback from when he's talking about the temples themselves.
Yeah.
And you would still have a movie that makes narrative sense.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah, I think you could cut a lot of that first half an hour just being like, oh, we detected some sign or signal from coming from the Antarctica, and then cut to like the tanker, then cut to going in. Like you could definitely trim a good 20 minutes off this movie in the beginning.
Yep.
And you could still have a plot that would make sense.
And you could put it into
and I think you could. I think there's enough in the second and third act that you would still care about the lead female, whose name I cannot remember, either actress or character.
Actress.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, you could flip those 20 minutes and put them into the temple, and have more of the like skulking through the temple and being interested, and you could add some of those horror elements to the aliens that you really like, Max.
Yeah, or maybe just from how much time has passed. Like you see the eggs hatch, and the things jump out, and then you see the chest bursters come, and it's like, how long has it been since then?
Her name is Alexa.
Alexa?
Yes, Alexa Woods.
It'd be more of like, what is Group Beta? The group that is below them, like, what are they doing to get to there? Like, maybe going through more wall sconces or something like that, or
learning more about things,
more atmosphere,
stumbling into the room filled with human bones.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, a lot of those kind of things. But as it stands, for the time that this movie came out, it's okay.
Yeah, and Brew Again, I definitely, I enjoyed
Very
this
long View Again, Brew Again that all three of us were participated of.
Yeah, I'd like to see if they made this again, because with very small breweries like that, it's oftentimes hard to get the same thing twice, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see if this is something they're going to be doing year to year, just because of that aspect actually perfectly. I'd like to see what the differences are between year to year to year of these things.
Sure. Okay. Ryan. No, VABA.
Oh my gosh! All right, so I would watch this movie again. Typical kind of response for the show is it's kind of a background movie. There's not
TNT tier.
right. There's no scenes that I'm like, oh my god, you guys need to see this kind of thing. If I was showing someone it for the first time, this movie, but it's not bad. I would sit through this movie again. Yeah, it does some cool stuff. Again, a lot of really cool sets. The effects held up really well, like more so than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think I've seen this movie, I don't know, in at least 5 or 6 years, at least. But they hold up pretty well. Yeah, so, all right, Paul Anderson, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Make more of this.
Yeah.
Less Resident Evil.
Well, he's finishing up soon, I think.
No. Well.
He's done directing his
allegedly
wife.
soon.
Again, whatever. Brew Again, this is fucking great. Like, this is a really good beer. There's a lot, but not overpowering as far as the cherry and the other, like, what was it, orange notes?
Cranberry and orange.
Cranberry and orange. That's what it's, the other C fruit.
There's no C in orange. Oh, cranberry. Yeah,
cherry.
Sorry.
So I've been going through this really quickly. It's very pleasant. It's there's a lot of character to this, and boy, it kind of hits pretty hard. And I very much like this beer.
It's 10%, and the cranberry, the tartness of cranberries, I think, is overpowering the sweetness you get from the
Barleywine.
Yeah. So.
Now, I kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but if you handed me this beer and said drink it and classify it for a style, I would not have gone with Barleywine.
What would you have said instead?
Maybe an ale, like stronger ale, even. But in any case, regardless of where I feel like it should be classified, this is a very good beer. It's not what I would expect for a Barleywine, but it is very, very good.
All right, we'll transition that to my ratings, and we'll start with Brewing. It's because, to me, barley wines have always been very difficult to classify.
Okay.
To me, barley wines have always been like, oh, this is our big beer with a lot of malts, a lot of hops. I mean, if you're gonna have your hop profile be a lot more prevalent, you're gonna go with call it a double. If you go into the nitty gritty of what separates the two, there's a bit of overlap between your English barley wines and your American double IPAs. Your American barley wines are going to have a little bit more of a hop profile. I'm not getting a lot of hops from this one in comparison to some other ones I've had.
Right.
That could be from the aging. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I think the cranberries are masking some of that sweetness that at least I personally attribute to the
barley wine profile.
Yep. But the reduced hops could also be from the beer being aged for almost a year in a bottle. Good news though is that Batch is about to open will soon open a secondary location, mostly for bottling. They don't distribute a lot, and they're also going to make some of their, let's just call it, more experimental beers there. They want to do a lot of more like wild yeast kind of thing, which from a brewing perspective, if you don't keep watch on that could rain havoc on your brew house as far as it.
Like your tap lines and everything.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that could be a nightmare.
Just, not necessarily on tap lines, but just like having that yeast stored in that location and just getting into
yeasting?
Stuff. Yeah, yeasting, let's say, can cause some havoc on production. So they also, I think they're going to plan to get into some ciders in the secondary location. Got to appeal to all sorts. I mean, they're kind of close to the LCA, the Little Caesars Arena, the new hockey arena in downtown Detroit. So they got to appeal to all sorts, considering they're probably getting a little bit more crowd in there right now. So, but no, I very much enjoy this barley wine. It's probably one of the best I've ever had.
It's really good.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this right now. Hi, Kayla.
Right.
Kayla's waiting. Hi. As far as this movie goes, for me, this is a solid TNT tier. it's one of those like, oh, if I'm doing something on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, I want it in the background. If it's the second or third act, like right after Samalathan and the Predator have their heart-to-heart, then I'll sit down and watch it for the 40 minutes that it is. But it's not as bad as I remembered it being. I can't fault it more than that. Like, not as bad as I thought it would be.
So,
or remember it being. 'Cause I remember seeing it in theaters. I wasn't disappointed.
I was.
Well, tell me whoever you weren't.
I think you and I were.
Yeah, but I was like, what, 15, 16 probably, and it was okay. I expected more from it, probably, but yeah, I don't know.
I guess for me, as a moderate fanboy of both these series, I was kind of hoping for a lot more of actual Alien versus Predator than what this movie offered.
Yep.
And I guess in that same framework, I wanted to see a lot of Alien versus Predator, yet observed from the outsider perspective of humans.
Yeah, that was
this movie.
I'm thinking back. That was our main complaint. Is that that for a movie called Alien versus Predator, it's a very human-centric movie.
Right.
I think I think that is a big problem with a lot of creature feature. We'll call it creature feature films. A lot of like, here's the title of the movie has what you want to see, but it's always here's the human narrative to it.
So I think. I'm not going to defend them, but you have the problem that they might have run into at this point is they had two species that don't speak.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember much of Predator 2, I'll be honest with you.
Danny Glover.
But the only time you hear anything human out of the Predator between both movies that I remember is the Predator.
You want some candy?
Like laughing as he's dying at the end of Predator 1.
Right? When Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "Yo, an ugly motherfucker," the Predator goes, "Mother," or something along the lines. This is after he's been impaled. When I flew back from Japan, I watched nothing but Arnold Schwarzenegger movies because there were several of them on the in-flight entertainment. But there were some, like, he mouths a couple, like, English words. But there's no actual, narrative. And I will agree that is
it's a tough sell.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. Like, but Never on Elm Street, going back to the Versus film of previous, it's a lot easier to sell because he's a chatty motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah. So you bring that up, and, like, do you then go into subtitles for the Predators, like when they communicate with each other, or like what would you do there? I mean, that'd be a question that I'm posing to you, Ryan. Like, how do you make this movie more Alien and Predator centric, or do you really, really go for it and make it so that there's very minimal dialogue and the actions and motions speak to each other? Because we saw that sequence where the Predator was able to mime to our main character here, to Woods, and she knew what was going on.
Yeah, I feel like if the time was spent to communicate via Xenomorph or Predator, body language, a lot more body language and context as far as the actions that they're taking, the movements they're making, to just kind of flesh out the conflict between the two non-human species in this movie. That the titular species, to fill up the first, or even more so parts of the first 40 fucking minutes where it's all just people, just humans.
Because we get 3 Predators in this movie until the very end, right?
Right.
And 2 of them die within 5 minutes of encountering the Xenomorphs.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of want to see maybe 1 die off, and then 2 are still around, but then there's like a middle act, like epic kind of thing where a bunch of aliens die, but then one of the Predator dies, and then
like if we would have. So Ryan, say we spent the first 20 minutes of this movie following the Predators prepping the
Tim Burton.
I am already just 200% more interested in what you've got to say.
Right, but
I
prepping
can
the
see
temple,
your erection from here.
and then
Hey.
all of a sudden they do the scan, like the final scan to make sure that they're all set, right? And the ship is leaving and they're ready to go. And then as they're doing that, all of a sudden this crew of people shows up into the temple.
Being like, oh, we saw these heat signatures and we found this
Right,
artifact
and you cut to the
connected,
people
blah, blah,
for
blah,
like,
blah, blah.
for like
yeah.
5 minutes of explaining what's going on, and then it cuts back to the predators, and they're like, well, sucks to be you.
Well, we're going down.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it, because really, as far as the scope of what these two species are capable of, the humans are just kind of their back burner stuff. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you're there, and I guess I have to.
They're there
deal
for a
with
body
you.
count.
Yeah, but I've got this thing, this other goal that is very much more requiring of my attention than you are.
Yeah, because they spend a good amount of time in this movie introducing us to a bunch of characters who they very quickly kill off.
Right? They're not
Yeah.
particularly well fleshed out for the most part.
And I will say this, though. If you think back to Aliens, they spend a whole lot of time fleshing out those Marines for a bunch of them to die very quickly. But that is a movie called Aliens, which is a movie between Marines and aliens. So
Right.
that's why they can get away with it as opposed to this movie.
There's only two sides. There's
Right.
not
Right.
three.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Predators have no defining features besides their masks.
Right. And so it almost would have been...
But I will say, though, like, in comparison, Apone has what? 2 scenes, 5 lines, if that.
He speaks
but-
a whole lot. On the ship,
I haven't
though.
watched it in years.
Yeah,
I haven't
on the-
watched it in a while, but I still, like, I know, I am bad with names.
Yeah.
I know the lead
character
guy in
Apone.
Marines is Apone.
Yeah.
I know there's Worzbowski and
Yeah.
Ramirez and
Yeah, I mean, those guys, I would encourage you both to go back and watch that movie again if you haven't watched it in a few years.
Oh, I just watched it recently. Aliens?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Max,
Dude.
you would be unbelievably astonished. I knew that was an iconic movie.
Yeah.
Going into it, I remembered it being an iconic movie. You'll be blown away by the cultural impact that movie had on every single sci-fi movie that's come out after it.
Certainly.
particularly from the
It's more than-
particularly from the feminist perspective is what that movie did.
Yep.
You don't realize how much that movie drew from Vietnam until you look into how much that movie drew from Vietnam.
It's just every movie since then, every sci-fi movie since then has been built off of that. Or at least horror sci-fi, as it should have
horror
been.
sci-fi
and
or
action
or
sci-fi.
Space Marines and such, and it's rare because it's one of the movies that predates 40K for Space Marines, or what Marines in space are, without being like the big bulky kind of things,
Right.
So
It's a, like I said, I knew that movie was iconic. I knew that movie was culturally significant and changed the way that cinema viewed sci-fi.
Right.
I didn't remember how big of an effect it had from shots, from lighting, from the way buildings are constructed, from the way
to how you create a set. Like
Right.
an actual set, not a CG set, an actual set.
from the
practical
way
set.
that Marines talk to each other, from
Right.
the way that people talk about aliens, like all of that. There's
Right, there's a lot of the foxhole effect. These people have been through shit, and it's clear that they've formed a stronger bond because of the things that they've been
I
through.
think that's it's paramount to the time when it was shot, and as well as the perspective is it was trying to be Vietnam in space. Of you have this highly capable force that is ultimately
losing to guerrillas.
the guerrillas because they are undisciplined initially, being like. But as I was messaging you earlier this week or so about Stranger Things season 2, I get a lot of aliens from Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah,
That's intentional.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but even though like the story predates that movie, but as far as you have individuals who survive the initial exposure to a force they are unaccustomed to dealing with. And through one way or the other, well, Paul Reiser being in it as well.
Yes.
Hey.
Being able to
Mad
oh yes,
about
we can deal with this, which you were saying it is the arrogance of the adults.
Yep.
And to me, that series has always been about the loss of innocence of children, or just in general. You could extend that to the original Alien of being like, this is my life, this is what I do, and then being torn out of that because of traumatic experiences. But no, just from traveling downwards underground into the veins, as I'm going to refer to them as, and they have that same resinous kind of appearance of the walls, the motion sensors.
Yeah, I mean, that movie is the Aliens to the season 1 of Alien. Of Stranger Things.
I hope season 3 is not Alien 3.
Yeah.
That's a fair criticism.
Yep.
So for as little as I know about history, to make the Vietnam parallel is interesting because in Aliens, to me, it seems like, we've got the Marines, quotes, going to some location where it's the home field advantage for the enemy, right?
Yeah. So
that's carries certain burdens that you just can't overcome in that situation.
Right. I mean,
and
they
talk
talk about that.
In the body count.
Yeah.
In the movie,
they go through maps and they're trying to figure things out.
Right.
And they get overrun at a point because they didn't know the maps as well as the enemy.
Right. Exactly.
Like, when they lift up the
grate
ducts and like,
yep.
Oh, we didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Like just kind of go back to Stranger Things, for a quick sec. When you see Eleven go through the floorboards, looking through boxes, you see a box that says Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same episode, or maybe in the next episode, you see Hopper going through the veins or crawling through the dark, and I'm like, oh, I'm wondering if if he's having flashbacks to Vietnam, because he's very much like, yep, PTSD is a thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't discount it.
Well,
David Harbour, man.
And the whole sequence in the lab when the lab gets overrun.
Right.
Haven't gotten there yet, but I see it's coming. But yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Well, maybe.
No.
Yeah.
The last thing I saw was the hand coming out of the thing.
Okay, well,
but
yeah.
I know
that was clearly coming.
Yeah, it's clearly coming, and
hashtag no spoilers.
Yeah,
hashtag no spoilers, but I could see it's coming.
Even that sequence, you can see that there are, there's these
capable men who think they are above the efforts of the enemy,
and you have the things, right? They're there.
Again, you see the Demogorgons in the last episode of that season. They move more like dogs as opposed to season 1 where you see them on 2 legs.
Yep. So,
okay. I think we've all said our things about this movie.
I don't know.
Have
you done your View Again, Brew Again?
Yeah.
Next?
Yeah. This is TNT.
That was his.
For me.
Yep.
Okay.
TNT for me.
Double check.
This beer.
It's so good.
Yeah. I had enjoyed this beer a lot more than I thought I was going to. I expected more of a malty sweetness to it. I'm getting more of the tartness from the cranberries. Excuse me. I would like to very much see if they brew this again. I'd like to have this on draft if available, just to see how the flavor profile
sounds great.
Is different. That's really about. This is, like I was saying, one of the best Barleywines I've had so far, and I'm glad I picked this up again. Picked this up like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
we've been holding on to it since
Good
then.
work.
Yeah.
So, as always, check us out: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So, yeah, I'm forgetting one. Check us out on WordPress, GBBV podcast.wordpress.com, on Podbean. Can't remember the URL off the top of my head. Send us your hate mail at goodbrewsbadviews.gmail.com.
Or, something I feel like we forget to ask. If you have a suggestion for a movie that would be a good candidate for the podcast, please let us know.
Oh, yeah, that's always, let us know on what movies we should do next.
Or beer.
We should do next.
On,
we will do what we can to get what we can. Luckily, Michigan is quite nice, and we know a couple places that can get us
replete with options.
Yes. As always, please watch
and drink
responsibly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.